In this video, we're going to have a look at how to complete the demo project 4 for JavaScript. Here, we are going to get the inputs on the number of rows of a table and the number for which to generate a multiplication table from the user. And we're going to generate a multiplication table based on those two numbers. So let's get started. So first, I'm going to go to JS folder and I'm going to create a new folder for JS demo project 4. And I'm going to open this in VS Code. So here I'm going to create a new file called index.html. And I'm going to create a basic HTML file here. So I'm not going to do anything to the body of this document. I'm going to just write all of the content in the script tag in the head section. I'm going to give it a type of text/JavaScript. So now we have the basic template of the HTML file ready. So let's look at how to do this. First, let's declare some variables to store the numbers that we're going to work with. So we're going to work with two numbers here. One is the actual number. We'll just store that as num. And then we need to capture the number of rows. So we'll say var row count. Now let's create the elements in which we're going to capture the inputs for these numbers. So we'll create of the input tag, and also we'll create row count input document dot create element input. We'll also create buttons for these two. We'll also create the same for the row. This should be a button. Okay, so we've created these. Now let's go ahead and add these to the document. And for that, we have to do window.onload and then pass in this function, which will be executed when the window loads. So we're first going to capture the body of this document in a body variable, document.get elements by tag name, and we're going to capture the first element of the array that it returns. And in this body, we are going to pass in the num input and also the num button. And let's just check on what that looks like right now. Okay, so it looks like this. Now let's give the button a label. And also the row button a label. We'll also give the page a heading. And a description as well. And we'll give the heading an inner text of So we're just going to build a custom multiplication table, and we'll also give them the description saying that please enter the number for which you would like to build the multiplication table. Okay, so that should offer some context. And let's add this to the body as well. Body dot append child description. Now let's save this and refresh it. So it says build custom multiplication table. Please enter the number for which you would like to build the multiplication table. That's good. Let's just say build a custom multiplication table. Okay, now we need to capture the input for the number that they provide us and then save it in a variable when they click on this button. So let's do that. For this, I'm going to say num button dot add event listener click. And for this, we'll trigger this function every time they click on that num button. First thing we'll do is we'll capture the value of the number they input in the num input into the num variable, and then we're going to make that num input and num button disappear. And then we're going to show the row count input. Actually, let's just call this row input because it's better to have simpler names for these variables. So row input, it's a body dot append child row input, body dot append child row button. Okay, and let's see. So save the number and then save the row count. Let's say we want 10, and when we click on save, it has to basically render a table. So that's the main thing that we need to do now. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an event listener to the row button. So we'll capture the row inputs value in row count, and we'll also remove the row input element and row button element also. So now it should be basically empty, and then we need to build the table, which is basically what we are building this page for. So there are a few ways to do this. My approach is going to be to use for loops and table element, and within that table we'll have tr, basically table rows. So let's create a table. And then inside the table we are going to add table rows, and we're going to do that using the for loop. So for I equals 0, I less than row count I plus plus. So this will basically loop whatever is inside these two flower brackets these many number of times. And with that, what we can do is we can say table dot append child tr. Okay, and this tr is something that we need to create here. So our tr equals document dot create element of the tag name tr, and inside this tr we need to add some td elements. This is the cell element. Now at this point it may seem really complex, so let's actually have a look at the HTML syntax for a table. This should give you a fair idea as to how it all works. So you have the table tag, which is basically the outermost tag, and within that you have the tr tag. So the table contains several rows, and each of the rows is contained within the tr tag, and inside each row there are cells. Okay, and each cell has the td tag wrapped around it. So this is a particular cell, and the TD tag contains the contents of that cell. So you can actually see what this looks like. So this is a particular cell, and the contents of this particular cell is inside the TD tag, and these three cells are inside this row. So this row is contained inside the TR tag. So knowing the basic layout of the table tag and what comes within it is helpful when you're building something like this. So this is what we're going to try to do here. So we are first creating the row element, and inside that we're going to create individual cells, right? So we'll first create the first cell, and if you want to visualize what this will look like when it's done, you need to have 3 cells in each row. So let's actually pull up a multiplication table. So here we have a multiplication table which so if you see here, this is one particular row. Okay, this is one row, this is the second row, this is the third row, and each row contains 3 items. This is one item, this is second item, this is the third item. So we need to create 3 individual cells. You can actually create 5 individual cells. Okay, like if you want to consider this also as a cell, but that's up to you. Like you can do it whichever way you want. You can actually even consider the whole thing as a particular cell. That is all up to you. For our consideration, I'm going to use 3 different cells. So I'm going to create 3 elements, td1 document.create element td, and I'm going to do this 3 times. So we're creating 3 TD elements, and inside the first TD element, so td1 dot inner text equals, we're going to enter the number, and inside the second one we're going to enter I plus 1. Actually, the reason why we are typing I plus 1 is that we are starting with 0. Okay, so the first row should contain 1. You can actually do I plus 1, or you can just start from 1 and we can eliminate this thing. Okay, so the second cell in that row will be the number that we are multiplying our number with, and then the third row will be the product of these 2 numbers. So num times I. So there we have it. This is all we need. Now we need to add these 3 different cells to the row, and we've already adding the row to the table here. So above that we're going to add tr.append child td1 and tr.append child td2, tr.append child td3, and then we are appending the tr to the table. And so the next thing we need to do is add this table to the body of the document. So we'll say body.append child table, and let's see what that looks like. Actually, let's do this at the very end. I mean, we should add the table after the for loop ends. Okay, so the for loop is just to construct the table, and after the table is fully constructed, then we add the table to the body. So I've saved this. Let's have a look at what this looks like. So let's get a table for 5. Let's have 100 rows in it. Okay, so we need to add a event listener to row button. Okay, so row button spelling is a mistake here. So 5 and 100. Okay, so we're getting the table now. So you can see here 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15, like that. We can go all the way. Okay, so we asked for 100, but we're getting only 99. That's because we are setting the limit to row count. Now let's add this to row count plus 1, because we're starting from 1. I'm also going to add a separate column for the x and the equal to signs. So I'll say var tdx equals document dot create element and td, and also after this I'm going to add one for td equal to if this is confusing to you, we can actually go ahead and rename these to td2, td3, td4 and then td5, and we can change these to td3 and then td5, and for td2 we'll say x, okay, so that it looks like a multiplication symbol, and then td4 dot inner text should be equal to, okay, so now it should look a little better. So we'll say td4 and then td5. Let's see what that does. So there seems to be some problem here. When I enter 3, it's showing 30 rows. That's not expected. Let's do some troubleshooting here. I'm going to console log the value that we're getting for row count, and I'm also going to console log the number is fine. Let's see what this looks like. So it is registering as 3, but I think the issue is with it being a string and we're using it inside a loop. Maybe that is an issue. We'll fix it by making these input types only register number values. So I'll say num input dot type equals number, and similarly row input dot type equals number. Let's see if that fixes the issue. Okay, we're still getting something like this. Let's go over the code line by line and see where we went wrong. So we're creating the table and then we're creating the for loop, and here we are getting the row count. Let's leave that console log statement. Okay, so let's save this and get the console log one more time. See if, okay, so what's happening I think is that because row count is being registered as a string, when we do row count plus 1, it's actually making it 31 instead of just 3 plus 1, 4. So what we can do in this case, we can convert the row count from a string to an integer. So the way to do that is we'll use a method called parse int. Okay, so parse int basically parses whatever is within the parentheses into an integer. So let's try this now. So now it works out because it converted the string to an integer, and when we did 3 plus 1 here, instead of making it 31, it made it into 4. And that's why we're seeing just 3 rows here. One more thing that we could have done and eliminate this entire thing is to use less than or equal to here. That way we don't need to do any of this stuff. Let's see if this works. Okay, so it works out. So I mean, it's in programming, there's always more than one ways to achieve a result. So this is a better way to handle that. So now we have the table ready. So we gave the table a border. So there's one more thing that we need to fix, which is the description here at the top. So we've entered the initial description. Please enter the number for which you would like to build the multiplication table. And it still remains the same after we hit save for the number. What we need to do is we need to change the description here. Description.inner text equals, please enter the number of rows for the table. Okay, and then when they hit save on the second button, the row button, we'll again change the description to your custom multiplication table of num by row count is generated. Okay, please enter the number of rows here, so we'll say 4. Your custom multiplication table of 3 by 4 is generated with these many rows. So far so good. And we can also go ahead and style this by adding some style to the body tag. So body.style.text align equals center. Okay, this is much better now. And of course we need to also make the table be in the center, and we can do that by adding all of this inside a div tag and move it to the center. So var div equals document dot create element of type div, add that to the body, and from there we need to use div everywhere where we're using body. And save that. And we'll give the div a certain fixed width. So div dot style dot width equals 500 pixels, and we'll also make it center. Div dot style dot display equals block. Div dot style dot margin left equals auto. Div dot style dot margin right equals auto. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. This looks better, but still we can center the table. Let's make this actually 600 pixels, and we can center the table as well. So table dot style dot width equals 100 pixels. Table dot style dot display equals block, and table dot style dot margin left equals auto. Table dot style dot margin right equals auto, and we can also give it a background of a certain color. You can give it any color you want. I'm just going to go for something simple, and we'll also move this particular style all the way at the top. Okay, so let's save this. We'll also give it a border radius 5 pixels. Okay, so we'll make it really subtle, and we'll also give the body and the div a background. So body dot style, we'll make this really subtle. Okay, so let's see. Okay, that looks much better now. I can also add some padding to the div. So this way there's some space around the div, and also we can add a margin top. Okay, so there we go. We have a very attractive looking page with a lot of styling that's happened here. We can also give the div itself border radius. Give it a 10 pixel border radius, which will look a little more stylized. So maybe you can't see it, but it's there. Okay, so we generated the table. So there we go. We have a attractive looking page. So let's try this out with a really difficult number. So 2, 3, 4, and then we'll get to generate 10,000 rows. So you can see here, it is generated a table with 10,000 rows, something that you can't do it manually. This is the appeal for programming. And as you can see, the table width being set to 100 pixel is a mistake. You can just say auto. So that covers the entire width. So your custom multiplication table of 324 with 1000 rows is generated. We can give it maybe 300 pixels. We can also add a border property for the tr. tr.style.border bottom equals 1 pixel solid black. Let's have a look at why the tr is not getting a border. So we need to add this border collapse to the tr, to the table property. So let's do that. Let's say table.style.border collapse equals collapse, and so it does add the border property. So it's doing that now. We can skip this if I equals row count. That way it won't add the border to the last row. Because we're adding the border bottom property, we don't need to add it to the last one. If I not equals row count, then you do this. Okay, so that way it will look cleaner. So you can see here that because we're adding border to the bottom row, it's looking a little ugly. So, okay, this looks a little bit better. Now we need to fix this width. Instead of giving it okay, so I'm done with styling the table the way I want it. You can choose your own approach to styling the table. One last thing I want to do is I want to reset. I want to have a reset button here that I can use to go back to the initial screen instead of having to refresh the page every time. So what I can do is I can have a button at the end of this. I'll say, let's create it here. Var reset button equals document dot create element button, and I'm going to add a event listener to this. Add event listener, click, and I'll say window.reload. Okay, so that will automatically reload the page, and we need to add that button at the end of the table here. So let's go to the very end, and we'll say dev.append child reset button. Okay, 3, 4, and we need to give it a label. Reset button dot inner text equals reset. So we have this. We can append this to the body rather than the div. Okay, so the reset button now appears at the bottom of the page. We can give it a margin top. So reset button dot style dot margin top equals 20 pixels, so that there's enough space around it. Okay, and when you click reset, we can look this up, how to refresh a page using JavaScript. So you can just say location.reload. So let's do that, location.reload. Okay, so that's it. So this is how we build a custom multiplication table generator. So let's actually change the heading of this page to multiplication table generator. And we'll add build your own custom multiplication table. Maybe we'll add this as a small title under that. So we'll create a subtitle, document.create element of type h4, and we'll say subtitle.inner text equals this, and then heading dev.append child subtitle. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Let's make the subtitle a little less prominent. We'll actually make it into a p tag, and we'll also make it font style italic. Okay, that looks much better. So you can see now it actually looks quite decent and everything works. There's one small thing that we still need to do. The page itself is done, but if you look at this document, it is too large. Okay, I don't want it to be this long, the JavaScript section and the head section. So what we'll do is we'll just copy this entire thing. And if you remember, I told you that it's best to have your JavaScript code in a separate file. So I'm going to create a new folder here called JS, and inside that I'm going to create a file called script.js, and I'm going to add all of the JavaScript code in here, and then here I'm simply going to refer to that js.script.js. So let's see if this works now. Okay, everything seems to be working. Now let's say if you want to test if everything is properly working because of the JavaScript code, you can remove this line and see if it works. And obviously it doesn't work. And if you paste it back and if you save it and refresh, then it works. So this is how you know that your line is properly working. You can remove it and test it and then put it back in and test it again and see if it actually does anything. So now our document is properly organized as well. If you want, you can actually add some comments to say that this is just declaration of variables and declaration of elements, or rather initialization of elements. And you can also actually go ahead and move the creation of the table and all of that stuff over there, to make sure that everything is in one place. And these things as well. I'm also going to move the div here over here and move all of this stuff over here. Okay, so this is just to better organize the code. And we'll check one more time if everything is working properly. Okay, so everything seems to be working properly, and it's always best to leave some comments in your code like this. It's better to even go more in depth and add better documentation using comments. So I hope this video was helpful in understanding how to achieve the functionality that we discussed in the prompt for JavaScript demo project 4. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below. And if you have trouble understanding what I did here, please rewatch this video once more. And if you still have any questions, you can always post some comments and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.